Today's topic, selection, 4 subtopics. First, meaning and definition of selection. Second, recruitment versus selection. Third, nature and objectives of selection. Fourth, selection process, steps involved in selection process. Meaning and definition of selection. Definition: the selection is the process of choosing the most suitable candidate for the vacant position in the organization. In other words, selection means weeding out unsuitable applicants and selecting those individuals with prerequisite qualifications and capabilities to fill the jobs in the organization. Most often, the selection and recruitment are used interchangeably, but however, both have different scope. The former is a negative process that rejects as many unqualified applicants as possible so as to hire the right candidate, while the latter is a positive process that attracts more and more candidates and stimulates them to apply for the jobs. Significance of selection. The company should follow a proper selection procedure, as huge amount of money is invested in selecting the right candidate for the job. Also, the cost incurred in training an induction program is too high that the wrong selections could lead to a huge loss to the employer in terms of the time, effort, and money. Absenteeism and labor turnover are the grim situation for any organization, and if the candidates are not selected appropriately, then these problems will increase and the overall efficiency of the organization will go down. Recruitment versus selection. First, meaning. Recruitment defines the activity of establishing contact between applicants and employers. It includes all activities involving the search of candidates and helping them apply for the job on offer. Selection deals with the process related to the picking up of the most competent, efficient, and suitable employees with the intent of offering them the job on offer. So we can say recruitment defines the entire process of finding candidates who may be interested in specific job openings. It also involves the different acts of stimulating interested candidates for filing applications for the same. The selection process encompasses the actions of picking up the most eligible candidates from all those who may have filed in their application for a given job opening. The objective of the selection process lies in offering the appointment letter to the most suitable candidates only. Second, objective. The objective of a recruitment process is to encourage a large number of interested candidates for any given job. These candidates may or may not be suited to fill up the vacant job offers. The objective of the selection process lies in the attempt to filter and reject all unsuitable candidates. The selected candidates are the ones who fit the job profile in entirety. In other words, recruitment to inviting more candidates to apply for a vacant position, and selection choosing the most suitable candidate and rejecting the rest. Third, process. The overall process of recruitment is simple and less cumbersome. All facets of selection form an overall complicated process. In comparison to the selection process, the activities related to recruitment are simple. This is because recruiters do not go through the processes connected with the scrutiny and assessment of the candidates in any way. Selection serves to be a complicated and well-designed activity comprising of different stages. This is because the companies making the selection have to assess and evaluate the details and skills of interested candidates at each stage. Thorough investigation and the various selection and interview modes have to be applied to freeze upon the most suitable candidates in the lot for filling up the job opening. Fourth, hurdles. The interested candidates do not have to cross through many obstacles to reach the companies of their interest. Plenty of hurdles in the form of different levels of selection, dependent on varying criteria, have to be crossed before a candidate is considered selected by the recruiting organization. Fifth, approach. Recruitment is considered as a positive approach. It encourages all prospective people to put in their job applications. Selection serves to be a negative approach. It involves the rejection of unsuitable candidates. As it is a process that encourages more and more interested applicants to apply for a given job, recruitment is considered as a positive process. On the other hand, selection serves to be a costly process in the sense that it leads to the filtering and rejection of all those candidates who are considered unfit for the job on offer. 6. Sequence. Recruitment processes proceed with the stage of selection. Various selection processes follow the process of recruitment. 7. Economy. Recruitment of candidates is a comparatively more economical method. Selection serves to be an expensive method for the company hiring eligible candidates. Overall, recruitment serves to be an economical process. On the other hand, the selection is comparatively more expensive. 8. Time-consuming. Recruitment processes are comparatively fast and not as time-consuming as selection procedures. More time is needed to start and complete the entire selection process. The entire recruitment process consumes less time because it merely involves the identification of the needs of specific job openings. Additionally, it stimulates more and more candidates to file in their application for the same. On the other hand, selection incorporates a broader range of activities. The selection tasks begin with the shortlisting of the right candidates and culminate in appointing the most suitable of them all. 9. Key factor. The key factor in recruitment. Advertising of the job offers available for interested candidates. The key factor in selection. The hiring of the most suitable candidates for the job on offer. 10. Process. Process in recruitment. Firms notify the job vacancies via various sources. The job application forms are made available to all interested candidates. Process in selection. Firms with job openings make the interested applicants pass through different levels of selection, such as filling up and submitting forms, written tests, interviews, medical tests, etc. The appointment letter is presented to the most eligible selected candidates only. In the case of recruitment, an organization notifies interested candidates about the vacancy via different sources like the internet, newspapers, periodicals, magazine, and so forth. The information about job openings is extended to all interested applicants so that they may easily apply. In contrast, the entire process of selection incorporates several steps undertaken by a firm to make sure that the most suitable candidates pass through different stages of selection. Generally, the various stages of selection include submission of forms, written examinations, interviews, medical assessments, etc. 11. Contractual relation. Recruitment merely implies that the job openings are communicated to interested candidates. There is no contractual relation that gets established in the recruitment process. Selection leads to the creation of a contractual relationship that is established between the employer and the selected employee. No contractual relationship is established between any parties in case of recruitment. However, in the selection process, both employee and employer sign a contract of employment and are bound by the same. 12. Specifies. A recruitment policy appropriately specifies all the objectives of recruitment. It provides a comprehensive structuring of the rules and regulations of the various steps and implementation of the full recruitment program. The selection policy is comprehensively designed and comprises the different methods, steps, or stages of evaluation of interested candidates at every level of selection. 13. Involves. The recruitment process comprises of two essential aspects. These are: 1. To decipher and address the number of vacancies that have to be notified to interested candidates. 2. To approach the most potential candidates and encourage them to apply for the jobs relevant to them. The selection process incorporates various steps of filtration and evaluation, along with mutual decision-making. At every step, the organization decides if it is okay to take the candidate to the next stage of selection or not. The job offer is made to the most suitable candidate after the last step of selection. It is up to the candidate to take the job offer or not at the end. 14. Action. Recruitment serves to be a linkage activity that brings together jobs as well as the candidates who are seeking employment. The selection incorporates the comparison of attitudes, behaviors, and the performances of various candidates. 15. Usefulness. For a recruitment process to bring good results and be effective, the organizational needs have to fall in line with the requirements of the applicants. The selection of the right personnel serves to be helpful for the management as it can get its work done effectively by hiring the most suitable employees. Importance of selection. First, procurement of suitable candidate is possible. Only suitable candidates who are fit for the job are selected from among the prospective candidates for employment. So, selection is a process by which only desirable candidates are hired and others are denied the opportunity. Second, good selection reduces the cost of training and development. Proper selection of candidates reduces the cost of training because qualified personnel have better grasping power. They can understand the technique of the work better. Therefore, the organization can develop different training programs for different persons on the basis of their individual differences, thus reducing the time and cost of training considerably. Third, proper selection resolves personnel problems. Proper selection of personnel reduces personnel problems in the organization. Many problems like labor turnover, absenteeism and monotony shall not be experienced in their severity in the organization. Labor relations will be better because workers will be fully satisfied by their work. Steps in selection process. The selection process typically begins with the preliminary interview. Next, candidates complete the application for employment. They progress through a series of selection tests, the employment interview, and reference and background checks. The successful applicant receives a company physical examination and is employed if the results are satisfactory. Several external and internal factors impact the selection process, and the manager must take them into account in making selection decisions. Typically, selection process consists of the following steps, but it is not necessary that all organizations go through all these steps as per the requirement of the organization. Some steps can be skipped while performing the selection process. First, initial screening. The selection process often begins with an initial screening of applicants to remove individuals who obviously do not meet the position requirements. At this stage, a few straightforward questions are asked. An applicant may obviously be unqualified to fill the advertised position, but be well qualified to work in other open positions. The purpose of screening is to decrease the number of applicants being considered for selection. Second, completion of the application form. Application blank is a formal record of an individual's application for employment. The next step in the selection process may involve having the prospective employee complete an application for employment. This may be as brief as requiring only an applicant's name, address, and telephone number. In general terms, the application form gives a job performance-related synopsis of applicant's life, skills and accomplishments. The specific type of information may vary from firm to firm and even by job type within an organization. Application forms are a good way to quickly collect verifiable and fairly accurate historical data from the candidate. Third, employment tests. Personnel testing is a valuable way to measure individual characteristics. Hundreds of tests have been developed to measure various dimensions of behavior. The tests measure mental abilities, knowledge, physical abilities, personality, interest, temperament, and other attitudes and behaviors. Evidence suggests that the use of tests is becoming more prevalent for assessing an applicant's qualifications and potential for success. Tests are used more in the public sector than in the private sector, and in medium-sized and large companies than in small companies. Large organizations are likely to have trained specialists to run their testing programs. Fourth, job interview. An interview is a goal-oriented conversation in which the interviewer and applicant exchange information. The employment interview is especially significant because the applicants who reach this stage are considered to be the most promising candidates. Fifth, conditional job offer. Conditional job offer means a tentative job offer that becomes permanent after certain conditions are met. If a job applicant has passed each step of the selection process so far, a conditional job offer is usually made. In essence, the conditional job offer implies that if everything checks out, such as passing a certain medical, physical or substance abuse test, the conditional nature of the job offer will be removed and the offer will be permanent. 6. Background investigation. Background investigation is intended to verify that information on the application form is correct and accurate. This step is used to check the accuracy of application form through former employers and references. Verification of education and legal status to work, credit history and criminal record are also made. Personal reference checks may provide additional insight into the information furnished by the applicant and allow verification of its accuracy. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. It is important to gain as much information as possible about past behavior to understand what kinds of behavior one can expect in the future. Knowledge about attendance problems, insubordination issues, theft, or other behavioral problems can certainly help one avoid hiring someone who is likely to repeat those behaviors. Background investigations primarily seek data from references supplied by the applicant, including his or her previous employers. The intensity of background investigations depends on the level of responsibility inherent in the position to be filled. 7. Medical examination. After the decision has been made to extend a job offer, the next phase of the selection process involves the completion of a medical, physical examination. This is an examination to determine an applicant's physical fitness for essential job performance. Typically, a job offer is contingent on successfully passing this examination. For example, firefighters must perform activities that require a certain physical condition, whether it is climbing a ladder, lugging a water-filled 4-inch hose, or carrying an injured victim. These individuals must demonstrate that they are fit for the job. 8. Permanent job offer. Individuals who perform successfully in the preceding steps are now considered eligible to receive the employment offer. The actual hiring decision should be made by the manager in the department where the vacancy exists. Ways of making an effective employee selection. First, determine the criteria a candidate must meet. Before filling a position, the HR manager of a company must clearly define the skills, experience, character, educational background, work experience, technical skills and competencies they must possess. Second, hiring without testing. Skill testing is a must. Every job has some form of measurable, objective performance standard. Identify it and test for it. There are tests that can indicate if a job candidate meets the required criteria. With these pre-hire screening tools, a recruiter can test the knowledge of potential hires before they are extended an offer. Third, hiring after the first interview. It is important to have several interviews with the same person, and not to hire from one interview. The person may not present the same later. An HR manager may get fresh insights from different meetings. Fourth, underestimating the unemployed. A person who does not have a job at the moment may be the right fit for the position. There are plenty of good talent out there that are not hired. Fifth, poor or no reference checking. It is important to know how to conduct a detailed reference check. A proper reference check verifies job skills and the behavioral fit in which the person operates. It is essential to conduct an extensive background investigation and reference check. 6. Avoid hiring out of desperation. Too many hiring decisions are made out of operation. The following scenarios occur repeatedly. A key manager quits and must be replaced now. Rapid growth forces a company to fill positions without enough forethought. Programmers are so scarce that any one man will do. If we hire employees in haste, we may find out later that the new recruits are not trustworthy or competent. If an HR manager is unable to conduct a thorough, timely hiring process, hire a temporary or leased employee or borrow an employee from another company. 7. Watch out for fascination. A series of surveys have revealed that during the hiring process, most interviewers made their decision up or down within the first 10 minutes of the interview. They then spent the next 50 minutes internally justifying that decision. We buy cars in the same way. First, we choose the car we want to buy from an emotional standpoint and then search for objective data to justify that emotional decision. We all know that facts tell, but emotions sell. The recruiter can guard against obsession by having co-workers interview prospects, having group interviews, and by conducting follow-up interviews. 8. Carefully evaluate candidates recommended by employees and associates. Just because someone recommends a person they think would be highly capable for a particular position doesn't mean that person is qualified. We have seen many occasions where someone was hired without going through the usual evaluation process simply because they were recommended by another employee or colleague. Follow the usual channels and requirements when anyone, no matter how highly recommended, seeks to work for the organization. 9. Do not blindly promote from within. It is widely believed that the HR manager should recruit employees from within the organization. The best performers are not necessarily always the most qualified candidates for a specific job. This is especially true when promoting to the management level. Simply because someone is particularly adept at handling a certain function doesn't mean they are capable of managing others. It is important to remember the Peter Principle. It is a concept in management theory in which the selection of a candidate for a position is based on their performance in the current role rather than on their abilities relevant to the intended role. Common mistakes in the selection of employees. First, poor listening. Few recruiters do not pay full attention to the candidate. In fact, following the 80-20 rule, the 80% needs to come from the applicant. The interviewer should listen 80% of the time. Second, recruiters listen to the candidate's words. They should pay more attention to the body language, posture, eye contact, essentially all the non-verbal communication cues. They should read and observe the personality of the applicants. For example, voice quality is important for a candidate to become a teacher, in addition to his academic qualification. Recruiters should talk less and listen more. Third, questions are not purposeful. This is due to a lack of preparation. If recruiters have benchmarked the job and prepared a list of questions in advance, then they cannot go wrong. Recruiters should get prepared both for the basic and follow-up questions. A review of the job specification and employee specification may help the interviewer prepare specific questions. They should build rapport with the interviewee. The burden to establish rapport falls on the interviewer. Fourth, recruiters do not know what they are looking for. The recruiters may lack in preparation. So make a list of all the hard skills as well as soft skills, personality traits and personal values that employers need for the employee. Jot down any additional demands the job requires, such as lots of overtime, travel and set hours. The recruiter must know exactly what they are looking for. They are more likely to get it. Like most decision-making, employee selection is fundamentally emotional. Therefore, it is important to define and prioritize the critical success factors for the job in advance. Fifth, use the gut feels the approach. Experience and intuition are important, no doubt, but do not ignore the selection process. Have procedures in place which will assist a recruiter in making the right choice, such as testing, pre-interview questionnaires, psychometric assessments, etc. It is important to verify and check all information provided in the resume to make sure that nothing is given wrong. Be open to the possibility that some of them might not be totally honest and are bending the truth to get the job. It is very common for applicants to paint a much brighter picture on their resumes, so this makes testing extra important. 6. Time and work under pressure. Recruiters spend too little time on hiring and take too long to look for a replacement. They should understand that the costs of hiring are nothing as compared to turnover costs. Don't meet the candidate only once. Create opportunities for other managers to meet the applicant as well and hear what they have to say. It is very important to get the whole picture and see whether the applicant will be an overall good fit for the company. Will they be able to fit into the organizational culture and get along well with the rest of the team? 7. Go with the flow. Most interviewers do not take control of the interview. HR or managers must remember, it is his interview. He, not candidates, set the process, timing, roles, pace, and questioning. 8. Take candidates at their word. Do not settle for vague general responses just because you want to be polite. Let the candidate know at the beginning of the interview that as an HR manager, your goal is to fully and specifically understand his or her capabilities. 9. Oblivious to the legal. This may not prevent HR managers from making the right or selection decision, but it will increase the company's liabilities. To solve this problem, the HR manager must know the law, train employees and enforce the law in his selection process. Conclusion. The objectives of the selection process are to select the candidates whose success probability in the job is the highest and motivate the right candidates to opt for the vacancy by a proper presentation of the organization to the potential candidates. In many HR departments, recruiting and selection are combined and called the employment function. In large HR departments, the employment function is the responsibility of the HR director. In smaller departments, HR managers handle these duties. The selection process relies on 3 helpful inputs. Job analysis information provides the description of the jobs, the human specifications, and the performance standards each job requires. Human resource plans tell HR managers what job openings are likely to occur. These plans allow selection to proceed in a logical manner. Finally, recruits are necessary so that the HR manager has a group of people from which to choose. These 3 inputs largely determine the effectiveness of the selection process. The selection process is a series of steps through which applicants pass. For example, a candidate who fails to qualify for a particular step is not eligible for appearing for the subsequent step. The result of each step is crucial. Failure of any step disqualifies the candidate from attempting the next step.